I'm so excited to be joined by actor Lee Pace. You know him from Pushing Daisies, The Hobbit, Guardians of the Galaxy, and more. And his new film is Driven. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here today. It's nice to share this space with you and talk about all of your films, which I love, and I'm very excited for Driven.
So, thank you. Thank you very much.
So, in Driven, you played John DeLorean, the famous automobile mogul, who's probably most famous for being the creator of the car in Back to the Future. Let's take a look at a clip.
So what, they wouldn't let you do your own thing over at Pontiac?
Oh, Christ, no. General Motors, Ford, Chrysler. There hasn't been a single honest-to-God innovation in 20 years. All they do is tinker. They'll smooth a corner or automate a wiper and hike it as some great new model. Uh-oh. There, get that. It's all just bullshit.
So how much did you know about DeLorean before you signed on?
Well, I guess what I knew primarily was the car in Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. And I had the sense that there was a cocaine scandal that stopped the original car that he made from being what it was. So that's what I knew going into it. But what I learned about him was, I mean, what a fascinating individual he was. He had designed and manufactured the GTO, the Pontiac Firebird, and then he went out on his own and developed the DeLorean under his own DeLorean motor company.
And were you a car guy before this? I'm assuming you're now a car guy since you played one of the most famous.
I guess casually a car guy. I've loved the cars that I've had over the years, but I don't have much of a mechanical mind. So if you asked me to fix anything on one of them, I would be pretty useless.
Okay, so I can't call you to fix my car ever.
No, I won't be able to help you. I mean,
know.
it's like I'll get explained something with a mechanical thing, and I will feel like I understand it, but 20 minutes later, the process has completely gone out of my head.
I get it. I actively choose not to remember things about my car because I just don't want to do it. Well, so cars were not your favorite thing on set, but we have an Instagram post of you saying that working on this set, your favorite thing was working with Jason and Judy Greer. Sudeikis. Gosh, I cannot say Sudeikis. I always mess up his name. Sudeikis. So what was it? What were y'all goofing off with on set?
Well, we, actually, when we shot this movie, right before we started shooting, Hurricane Irma hit Puerto Rico, and then we got 5 days in and Hurricane Maria hit, and it was just insanely destructive to that island. We shut down for a month. We all went home, and I was convinced that the movie was not, we weren't going to be able to finish the movie. Wow. So when we got back, that Puerto Rican crew is just the most hardworking, problem-solving people I have ever met in my life, and they were eager to keep making the movie, and so were we. So the scene work, when it was just us in front of the cameras doing the thing, was such a joy, and it felt like, it was important for us to, bring a little levity, and make people laugh. And it was a real pleasure to do it, to be honest. It was a real kind of moment of perspective to think, here we're making a movie about, a car manufacturer. Things don't quite go his way, but there are people around us who are, they need to get ice back home. They need to get fuel back home for their generators. They need to rebuild their houses and take care of their families. So it was a real privilege to be a part of that moment in Puerto Rico's history.
It sounds like it, because you were actually being very active in what was impacting those people and seeing how you could help change it for the better.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I had lots of lines in the movie where, so in the movie, John tries to get the financing for the DeLorean Motor Company, is unable to do it in the States, ends up doing it in Ireland, in Belfast, building a factory, and one of the difficulties that he finds is that he's got to build these cars in Belfast and then ship them over to the United States, where his primary market is. And at a certain point, he runs out of a cash flow, and that's where he becomes involved with this $30 million drug deal, which is kind of the plot of the movie. But I believe, and it was in the script, in Colin's script, that one of the reasons he was fighting so hard to keep that car in production was all of those people back at that factory who relied on those jobs. And he would do just about anything to make sure that the sun did not set on that project that he had worked on. And I know that we definitely felt that working on it too, in Puerto Rico. Like it's more than just this movie, So
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. That's a really amazing backstory. I had no idea that was all happening behind the scenes, so thank you. So you've been friends with Judy Greer for quite a bit, and she posted this on Twitter last year. She wrote, with the headline, Lee Pace came out 7 times a week, then he came out for real, and she added, beautiful article about my friend who I love so much. Lee Pace is one of the great actors of our generation. So
oh my God, Judy's the sweetest.
It's such a sweet tweet, and it's been over a year since then, and what's it been like since that moment for you?
I mean, pretty much the same. I don't know. I don't know what to,
right?
It's not, I mean, just about the same.
Yeah, it feels, because I feel like it has to be exhausting. You know, I'm a queer person. I run The Advocate, the world's largest queer magazine too. And I talk to folks like you a lot. And I'm like, what was it like to come out as like queer or part of the LGBTQ spectrum? And folks are like, you know, I was already talking about it before with my friends. You just now talk about it.
No, but I never felt like I was in. So it's like, you know, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, that was like what she posted was the byline of the article, you know, so I don't know what to say about it because it didn't really feel like that much of a change. And
yeah,
you know,
it doesn't have to feel like a change. And I think that's a great message for folks. Like, it doesn't have to feel like a change. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 40 years old. I've been who I am for my whole life. It's not
for a
like
little bit of time.
anything has like altered.
Yeah. Well, I think what was interesting about that tweet and also what the Times wrote is that, you know, I noticed that you talked about how you're an actor and you want to keep your life private. And I think that's a very reasonable thing for people to ask. But do you think social media has made it hard for people to keep those lines in place?
I mean, I think always you've got like a choice, right? You have, you know, you choose how to conduct yourself in your personal life and how to conduct yourself on your social media life. So that doesn't ever go away. So, I mean, I certainly don't feel any pressure to, you know, be someone I'm not on social media or expose things about my life that I don't particularly want to.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always got choice.
Yeah. I need you to teach some social media classes because I know people that are constantly posting things that they shouldn't post or trying to live a life that's not real.
Yeah, but I guess God, social media is a wild, wild west.
It's super wild. Well, let's pull back to a time before social media, and I have to talk to you about Pushing Daisies. You know, that's one of my favorite shows, and I mean that very honestly. I remember when it was canceled, it was heartbreaking for me. What are the talks like these days of making it come back?
I mean, I don't know. Whenever I get together with Brian, we kind of talk about how great it would be to get the gang back together. So, yeah, it'd be so much fun. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Everyone's busy though. It'd be hard to wrangle everyone back up again.
Yeah.
But I know everyone
Skype
would be
interesting.
Hey, I guess it's possible now.
It's all digital.
It's like one of my great fears is that like we'll become obsolete. That they can. I've done so many of those movies where they do big 3D body scans of you. You know, there's a point when they're not going to need us anymore. They can like sign us up for the movie and then just animate us in some kind of way. So maybe, and it would be no fun to do a revival of Pushing Daisies
if we couldn't
actually show up and do it.
Gosh, could you imagine a complete CGI Pushing Daisies? That would take this to like new heights.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's a very fun note to end on, the future of acting where we're all CGI and no one's actually touching. Very, very, very dark. Well, you are touching people in your new movie and it's not CGI. And I want to say thank you so much for being here today. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
yes,
great to talk to you.
Well, Driven is in theaters and on demand now. More Aim to DM is up next.